Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court appointed and private, marriage counseling using the EFT method, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in both French or English, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found on lifecoachddanamzallag.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our seventh episode of season 25 a very special guest and well-known hypnotherapist, Mr. Craig Meriwether. And just like every of my past episode, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Craig, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Dan. I really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to talking with you. Your own experience in this kind of work with people is going to make for a wonderful conversation. So I've been looking forward to talking with you. Uh, my name's Craig Meriwether. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm based in Flagstaff, Arizona, but now with the power of the internet, the power of Zoom, been working with people around the country, the United States, Canada, around lots of places in Europe. And hypnotherapy is such a wonderful tool to use. It's something I did in my own life for my own healing. And it's one of those things where it was so incredible. And I started researching and looking more into it. And I don't know, it's one of those things where people say they feel a calling. And I guess I could fit into that book, and got some extraordinary training at the Hypnotherapy Academy of America. It's a wonderful school where 25, 30 other people in a classroom learn about the scientific validity of this work. We learn maybe about a specific process for a specific issue, and then we practice with each other. It's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday for 2.5 months, 500 hours. It's extraordinary training. And the amount of just the amount of people I've worked with over there, I don't know, some 10 years now, I guess I've been doing this work, is extraordinary, because what's fascinating about this work is, as you know, Dan, just with the work you do with neurolinguistic programming and all the other techniques and tools you have, is that it's not really myself fixing people or hypnotherapy in and of itself fixing people. What I find extraordinary about this, you're going to fix yourself.
Mhm.
Dr. Irving Kirsch calls hypnotherapy a non-deceptive placebo. And of course, we know, when some a pharmaceutical company's doing a clinical trial on, say a heart medication or a high blood pressure medication, and half that group's going to get the sugar pill. The
Yeah.
reason why is because they know mind will heal the body. They literally have to account for that in their research. They know mind will literally heal the body. And so half the group's going to get that sugar pill to account for that. The other group's going to get the real medication. Let's say 30% of the people get better on the sugar pill. They literally use their own mind. Yeah, they were tricked into it, but they use their own mind to heal their body. Well, let's say 40% got better on the real medication. Well, researchers actually have to subtract 30%, because maybe the medication had nothing to do with their healing. They healed themselves through mind. So really only 10% got better, and that's good enough. We'll put it on the market at $50 a pill. But nobody really looks at that idea of healing yourself through your own mind, through your own potential. And so again, what Dr. Irving Kirsch says, it's a non-deceptive placebo. We're not going to trick you into healing yourself. You're going to do it on purpose, using the power of your mind, both the conscious and the unconscious, because you have the ability to do that. And that's what's extraordinary about that. And whether you're, a few months ago, I worked with a 9-year-old who had been having chronic nightmares for 2 years, and been all the counselors and all the doctors and things, and nothing worked. And my wife here in Flagstaff runs a wellness clinic and has massage and float tank, one of those sensory deprivation tanks, and so on, all sorts of different things. And I have my office in there now. And she was massaging the mom, and said, mom was like, "Oh my God, he had another nightmare last night. He was screaming and crying, and we have to sleep with him. I haven't slept with, a full night with my husband in 2 years, because one of us is always in his bed trying to calm him down." And we've tried everything. And Christina's like, well, why don't you try hypnotherapy? And one 45-minute session later, he's never had nightmares since. I mean, that's how powerful this is. Whether you're 9 years old, I
Wow.
worked with a 77-year-old a few weeks ago with chronic anxiety. Since, and sure, yeah, well, I can help with anxiety and help you with that. And sometimes people, when they fill out my intake form, they might write 7, 8 really deep, detailed paragraphs about what they've been going through in their life, which is a good information to have at my disposal to help kind of focus where to place the attention of the session. Sometimes people just write one word. They just write anxiety. That's good too. Okay, that's exactly what we're going to focus on, your anxiety. To get a little more information at the start of the session, again, a Zoom session, I asked her, when did this anxiety start? She said 19. She's 77. She said she's been in chronic anxiety since 19. Now, I did not ask what happened at 19. She did not offer the information. And that's okay because she knows what the issue is within her. And we worked on her anxiety. We did like 2 sessions together, 3 sessions. And this it ended up going all the way back to childhood and some issues of abuse in childhood that manifested as extraordinary anxiety starting at 19. But she was able to rid herself of that by using the tools. And again, not that I fixed her, nor now that I take away the nightmares of the 9-year-old, I taught the 9-year-old how to fix it himself.
Mhm.
Because, children are great at this work, but also everybody, whether you're in your teenage years, you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, everybody's allowed to do this work because it's your mind and it's your body. And mind affects body, body affects mind, emotions affect all of it together. It's all one big package. And so you're allowed to affect how you feel. And while talk therapy, I think, is extraordinarily helpful.
Mhm.
And I think everybody should be doing some form of
Yes.
talk therapy in their lives here and there, if not on a semi-consistent basis. It's always good to have a second pair of eyes on things. Everybody needs a coach, not just the athletes, business, relationships, everything.
Absolutely.
But in terms of this work, you're going to fix yourself because who better to know what the problem is, even if it's within the unconscious mind? Who better to know what the problem is than you, and who better to know what the answer is than you? And you
Absolutely.
may not think, well, I don't know what the answer is. If I knew what the answer is, I'd fix it. It's like, yes, but we're dealing with the unconscious part of mind. People call the subconscious part of mind. And so if it's behind that curtain, yeah, you may not know. And I think, unfortunately, that's where some people find themselves spinning their wheels, whether, just talking to a friend or talking to a psychotherapist or something like that, is because they're not really hitting the real core issue because it's buried back in there, maybe through trauma or just it's been there for decades and get decades, and it's been behind the curtain for too long to be consciously accessible. But you know what the problem is because it's in there. You're reacting to life, the
Mhm.
triggers within your life, automatically reacting. It's doing that for a reason. I'm guessing, in the rare case, maybe it's true, but I think you're not anxious all the time. You're not angry all the time. There is some peace and some maybe even happiness in your life here and there. Even if you're struggling with chronic anxiety, chronic anger, or worry, or despair, or hurt, or pain,
But the,
there's some
but you think,
lightness in there, but you know what the problem is, you know.
absolutely. But
Mhm.
you think, Greg, that the hypnotherapy portion, when you put someone in a trance and you kind of like help them access this information, I remember that Albert Einstein said that the reason why his IQ was so high is that he can swap from consciousness to subconsciousness while still being awake and still being aware of his environment. And that's what accessing the bigger portion of the subconscious mind allowed him to be able to come up with the theory of relativity. And
Yeah,
we only use what, 8% at best of our
yeah,
brain capacity. So imagine the subconscious mind can actually access a greater portion, which makes someone super intelligent. Now,
yeah,
if let's say they come to you, Greg, they say, you know what, I want to be smarter than what I am. I want to be wise. I want to be witty. I want to be this. I want to be that. Is that something that by accessing the subconscious mind, you could actually achieve those results?
Interesting. That is a really amazing question. Can you make yourself smarter through hypnotherapy? I would think you'd be able to. I don't know if you can reach the levels of Albert Einstein or take
Possibly.
your 120 IQ to 180. But certainly I've seen this work with memory. I've seen this work, in terms of some of the skills of it, not just, and there's this kind of gray line between what is therapeutic hypnosis, what is neurolinguistic programming, what is guided visualization, what is mental rehearsal, this kind of thing. But in terms of using all those kind of tools, I've seen people create extraordinary memory. And so one would assume that using the same kind of tools, that you could increase your ability to retain information and knowledge would increase your ability to think in a more coherent and logical manner, which may, yeah, allow you to come up with that new invention, that new patent, that new way of, allowing your business to thrive in a way that reduce costs and increases time off, you know. Uh, a lot, I think a lot of that stuff might get blocked because of the stress and the worry and the fear, because it's shutting down a lot of the processes to focus on the danger. If the danger's that IRS audit, yeah, that's something to think about. But if the fear involved with a major issue around business or relationships or family or illness, the stress, the anxiety, the worry, the despair around a big issue in life may be causing the brain to be unable to access parts because it's super focused on the safety, the survival. I mean, that's the main job of the brain, of the entire mind, conscious and unconscious, is survival, is to keep you alive, is to protect you,
Mhm.
which doesn't necessarily mean happy and successful. It just means alive and breathing. And it's that threat in the moment that is most important. Unfortunately, uh, the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined.
Correct.
And that's just why a nightmare feels so scary. And it doesn't matter how crazy or ridiculous the nightmare may be. A gigantic cheeseburgers chasing you down the street, throwing coconuts at you. It's not going to happen. And yet you'll turn on the stress response, even in deep sleep. You'll turn on the stress response, and the extraordinary effort of the brain and the body to create the stress response, the fight or flight stress response. The brain has to start creating the adrenaline and cortisol. We've maybe heard those crazy stories of grandmothers lifting cars off of babies and things like that. That's adrenaline doing that. That's not coursing into your bloodstream. 300% more blood moving to big muscles of your arms to fight. 300% more blood moving to big muscles of your legs to escape. That's got to come from somewhere. So the
Yes.
power of your immune system's turning down. That's why people get sick when they're stressed. Power of your digestive system's turning down. No need to digest that sandwich to have energy in 7 hours. You're in danger right now. So power of your digestive system turning down. That's why people get irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, all while you're in deep sleep, all because of cheeseburgers chasing down the street. So what's happening in your waking life? It's especially when there is a family issue, especially when there's a family at work or with your career or a health issue. And if that hyper focus and you start stress breathing, and we tighten up our stomach muscles so we're not getting those big belly breaths, get air into the bottom of our lungs. We're just breathing in the top part of our lungs. And lungs are huge. Feel where your rib cage ends. Lungs are huge. If we're not utilizing their entire lungs, we're depriving our brains of oxygen.
Correct.
You know, and the brain takes something like 20% of the oxygen we breathe in. So if we're just stress breathing into the top parts and not utilizing our full lungs, we're depriving our brains of those nutrients, the oxygen. And so just the aspect of reducing the stress and the anxiety in your life is going to make you smarter, let
Mhm.
alone building upon that is a very interesting idea. Certainly we've probably heard those experiments they've done in schools where, they tell the teacher, they give the teacher the most underperforming class, but tell the teacher it's the highest performing class. It's the advanced level class.
Yeah.
And they all perform at the end of the year to the expectations of the teacher. The teacher hypnotized those kids into being smarter just by telling them they were smarter, expecting them to be smarter. The
Mhm.
perception the teacher had of those children being smarter made them smarter. And so I think you're onto something. It's that it's quite possible through using techniques and tools to make yourself smarter. Certainly, you can increase memory. So the question is, what's preventing that from happening? What are you telling yourself
Mhm.
that's making you and it could be as insidious as like, oh, I'm so dumb. Why did I do that again? I left my keys, and I got, my wife and I do this, we're off on the trip, and or 3 blocks down. Okay, turn back. We forgot our coffee sitting on the counter. We forgot to turn off the oven or whatever thing we did, and you're like, I'm so dumb. I forgot to close the bedroom window, and we're 5 blocks away from the house. Let's turn around. But it's that, oh, I'm so dumb. Oh, I did it again. I'm so stupid. Why do I do this over and over again? I must be the worst employee in the world, and whatever, you know? And that is telling you something. You're hypnotizing yourself to a certain degree. You're using your neuro linguistic programming on yourself.
Mhm.
And there's and not only that, but what we're receiving from the world. Are we surrounded by people who are telling us how smart we are, how awesome we are? There's a wonderful, fascinating experiment, research that was done some years ago, and there were actors in a park, something like Central Park, a big park where people hang out and sit on park benches and read magazines and books and things like that. And what these actors would do is they would come up to a person on their own, uh, like reading a book or something, and hand them a cup of coffee, say, hey, can you hold my coffee? I got to text my mom. She just went into the hospital. And half the people had iced coffee, the other half the people had hot coffee. So could you just hold my coffee for a second? I got to text my mom. Oh, yeah, sure. I'll hold your coffee. Held her coffee for a minute or two, texted, put the phone back in their pocket, grabbed it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I got to get to, and they go off. That's it. About half an hour later, a researcher would come up with a clipboard and randomly, talks to this person. Oh, hey, I see you're sitting there. Would you be willing to do a little research for me? There's 2 paragraphs to read and then 2 questions to answer. Take about 3 minutes of your time, and here's $20 for your time. And about 97% of the people who had held the coffee decided to take the $20. And the 2 paragraphs were exactly the same. The questions are about the main character. And the people who had held the iced coffee, 81% felt that the main character was cold and aloof. 80% of the people who held the hot coffee felt that the main character was warm and engaging, even though it was the exact same story. And so even our perceptions of our world can be manipulated, if you will.
Interesting.
And that's why, if you're having investors over to your company to invest in your company, make sure you serve them hot coffee or hot chocolate or cider or something. Do not serve them a cold beer or a cold soda. Uh, this is fascinating because in a sense, we're sort of hypnotized already. And so I think what a lot of the work that we do, you and I, is dehypnotizing people.
Yes, that's a good point. Absolutely.
Um, if you're struggling with anxiety, you're struggling with that fear, you're struggling with anger, hurt, and pain. If you're feeling wounded, to a certain extent, you're already hypnotized because this may have happened a long, long time ago. I was talking about that 77-year-old woman who just had anxiety. Well, ended up going all the way back to when she was about 8 years old or so. So she'd been struggling with this for a good 70 years. She'd been hypnotized to react and respond to triggers in her environment, unconscious triggers in her environment in a certain way. She's already hypnotized, changing the feeling state in her body, changing her brain chemistry to create that fight or flight stress response. And so, to a certain extent, what I was working with her on wasn't to hypnotize her to stop being anxious. It was just to dehypnotize her from being anxious, from the hurt and pain she had received. And if you kind of look at it that way, it becomes very empowering.
Oh, it does for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
You think, Greg, that If let's say you hypnotize someone dealing with physiological responses such as the fight or flee, which is controlled by the amygdala, do you think that hypnotherapy can allow people who are so accustomed to flee situation because they're too afraid of the result and convince them to be able to just confront the situation so they could know at least how to react to it instead of just running away? Is that a
Yeah.
way? Is hypnotherapy can actually change those physiological responses?
Yeah, well, this is another great question because I mentioned the 9-year-old who is struggling with nightmares. Part of the way he resolved that issue for himself is learning to confront them. And
Okay.
so this kid was, and this is going to be a little more associated with children, but you can see the point of you are able to retrain yourself because you've already trained yourself on how to react to the world. So just do it again. Only this time empower yourself to use your skills and your techniques and tools you've learned to move through the world in a more strengthened and empowered way. And with the child, I talked to his mom over the phone before I met with him and his mom. Mom was in the room and found out he was a Star Wars fan. And one of the shows he really liked was The Mandalorian. And if you haven't seen that show, it's the guys with the Boba Fett armor and they have the blaster guns and the jet packs and all the things. And they're kind of guardians and warriors. And there's also Baby Yoda there. You've probably seen the Baby Yoda memes and dolls and things the last few years. And in one of the scenes in The Mandalorian uh, was that Baby Yoda put this blue force field thing while he was kind of meditating. So he kind of put this force field, energy field around him, like this blue ball of energy around him while he was kind of meditating and floating in the air as a young baby Jedi. And so that's what we started with. I said, I want you to, and then he said, I want you to put Baby Yoda's name's Goguru or something weird like that. But put Baby Yoda out in front of you and put that blue ball of energy around you. Close your eyes and imagine you're doing this. Just pretend. And then imagine you're in your bed doing that. And now put Mandalorians on each corner of your bed, above and below. And now let's run scenarios. And part of the issue was like sometimes aliens were coming after him, sometimes monsters, sometimes ghouls, sometimes vampire, all these different kind of creepy, weird things coming at him. And so now let's run scenarios. I want you to have the aliens come at you and see what happens to them now. Watch them try to get through the Mandalorians. Watch them hit your uh, force field and watch them evaporate and disintegrate. Run that a few times. And now do it with the monsters. Now do it with the ghouls or the ghosts or the whatever. Do it with the zombies. Now do it with all of them together doing it. And so we just rehearse this over and over again. And by empowering him to be able to create that defense mechanism and seeing that how he can control the nightmare. And I told his mom's in the room, and I said, okay, and now here's the kind of homework of this is each night for at least the next week or so, as he's falling asleep, make sure those Mandalorians are surrounding his bed, above and below, and surround himself and Baby Yoda with that blue force field.
Mhm.
And never had a nightmare again. You
Wow.
know,
How many sessions did it take before he was?
one one session, 1 45-minute session.
Oh my Lord, that's
And then just whatever homework they were, and so I sent them the recording. I sent them home with the recording, and this was an in-person thing, but this would have worked over Zoom as well. um and I just said, practice for the next couple of nights, or at least for a week, by placing the Mandalorians on each side of the bed, and uh and surrounding himself with that force field and having him go to sleep like that, and never had a nightmare again.
That's spectacular. Now, do you think I know an institute in Virginia called the Monroe Institute, a very
Mm,
well-known institute that allows people to access their subconscious mind and be able to kind of like self-meditate or self-hypnotize themselves,
yeah.
whatever way. But the thing is that if you're put in a trance and you don't have the help of a qualified one, um, if you use self-guided affirmation, is that a form of hypnotism?
Yeah, yeah, and I think people get tripped up by the word hypnosis or being hypnotized, And they think it because of what's been in the movies and maybe what they've seen on Las Vegas shows or comedy club shows. Being hypnotized is not unlike the feeling of just meditating or maybe being bored back in high school math class, or being bored in a meeting when you just start staring out the window, you stop listening to what the person's saying, the math teacher. If anybody's seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Yes.
that movie, the economics teacher, Bueller,
Oh,
that guy, he put everybody into hypnosis. They're all sitting there drooling on their desks or staring out the window. They're bored. That's basically hypnosis. Really, all it is the alpha and theta brainwave states. But the reason why it works is because when you move into the alpha and theta brainwave state, you've kind of quieted down that conscious level of mind, the beta brainwave state. Literally just how fast your brain cells are communicating to each other, how fast the brain waves are flowing. So beta is about 18 cycles per second, slowing it down by being bored, watching TV, daydreaming, watching the clouds move across the sky, meditating. That puts you down the alpha brainwave state, maybe 12 cycles per second. Theta, that really cozy, comfortable, you're not really asleep, but you're not really awake either.
mhm.
You're kind of in a floaty state. That's about 6 cycles per second. Delta is deep sleep, that's 1/2 cycle per second. Alpha, theta, delta, that's the hypnagogic trance state. So it's really just a deep feeling of relaxation, of daydreaming. It can be a high level of alpha, like watching TV with the lights on in your house and you're getting lost in a good story or getting lost in a good book. And in terms of being hypnotized, it's really about your intention. You can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do.
Okay.
You can't control people. This isn't a thing where I can go up to Jason Bourne and make hypnotize him to assassinate the prime minister. You can't do that. That's not the way it works.
Okay.
You see these videos on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and these people are coming up to people on the street going, sleep, and they fall over. It's like, that's a plant. That
Yeah.
was, they know each other.
Yes.
This is for a video that hopefully will go viral so they can make some money or make some business or something like this. Everybody, up on that stage at that Las Vegas show or in the comedy club volunteered to be up there. Why? Because they want to have fun. That's not what I want to do with my evening. I don't want to go up there and act silly, but there are people out there and they want to have fun. So they go up there and they sing like Elvis Presley and they dance like Michael Jackson and they bark like dogs and quack like ducks and all that stuff because they're exhibitionists, they're extroverts. They
Yeah.
just want to be up on stage and have fun. And they do. Look at them at the end of the show. They have a big smile on their face. Every single person up there volunteered to be up there. It's their intention to have fun, to entertain, get a silly video to put up on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, to just have fun in front of their friends. They want to do that. That hypnotist in that show can't make them do that unless they want to,
I see.
assuming that they're not faking it,
No, of
that
course.
they're like, oh, I'm not really hypnotized. I guess I'll just pretend I'm on a roller coaster. If they're like kind of in a trancy state and relaxed and just like, yeah, every time you say, King of Rock and Roll, I'll stand up and start singing like Elvis because it's funny to them. They
Mhm.
think it's a good time.
I see.
And so it is. So imagine what it is if it's your intention to heal. I
Mhm.
can't make anybody heal. I can't make anybody stop smoking. The only reason smoking cessation works in hypnotherapy is because the people want to quit smoking. Otherwise, I can go into every bar or Las Vegas casino and make everybody quit smoking. Snappy, snappy, wavy, wavy, everybody quit smoking. Everybody's health gets better. I could go into prisons and get everybody to be a law-abiding, upstanding citizen. I could go to leaders of the world and hypnotize everybody to create world peace. I'd get Elon Musk to write me $1 billion check.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't have $1 billion check from Elon Musk is because he doesn't want to write me one. So I can't hypnotize him to do that,
I see.
you know? And so I can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do. However, if you want to heal, if you want to stop smoking, if you want to deal with your hurt and your pain and your wounds and you're tired of it with your 18-year-old old or 30 years old or 77 years old, you will do it because it's your intention to do so. And like I said, this is a non-deceptive placebo, meaning we're not tricking you into doing this, but you're going to use your own mind. I'm not healing you. You're going to fix yourself and you're going to use your own power of your mind, your brain, your body to heal yourself because you're allowed. You're allowed to. You have the power to do it.
That's the whole point here that I want to be able to clarify to all of our millions of listeners is that hypnotherapy is not to trick people. It's just to
Mm.
enhance someone's life by them making the changes, not expecting you to implement those changes. You make suggestion, but those suggestions are given by them during the intake. So what they don't realize is not like they're going and saying, okay, well, here's my problem, fix me. No, they have to fix themselves. Just like the famous TLC show with Dr. Now, the bariatric surgeon, before he does the surgery, people have to break their relationship with food first, learn how to lose weight first, and then he could do the bariatric surgery for them to be able to continue on their journey of losing weight. So I think your role is really ideal, Greg. And before we end this podcast, where can anyone find you to be able to get the services rendered?
Sure. Well, I live in Flagstaff, Arizona, and a beautiful small town up in the mountains. We get snow and it's cold here. And I called my practice Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy some 10 years ago, before Zoom became a thing. But that's where you can find me, Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy. The easy way to find that is just go to Google and type in Flagstaff Hypnosis. You'll find me. Also, I do have a test anxiety course revolved around test anxiety. It's a little easier to remember. It's called ACE Any Test, and you can email me from there.
Beautiful. Well, Craig, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time of your busy schedule to join us. And thank you again for participating and inspiring our many listeners with your incredible talent of hypnotism. Now, we hope that you've all enjoyed today's episode. And I'm also very excited about the many upcoming guests that we have scheduled for season 25 of the Happiness Journey podcast, filled with inspirational stories just like the one that you listened today. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. Hypnotherapy is a powerful tool to unlocking both mental and physical well-being. It helps quiet the mind, reduce stress, and break free from patterns of anxiety, fear, and self-doubt. By accessing the subconscious, hypnotherapy empowers you to reframe limiting beliefs and build healthier habits. Physically, it can ease tension, improve sleep, and even support pain management by promoting relaxation and healing. Unlike traditional method, it works gently yet effectively to address the root cause of challenges. With each session, you're not just healing, you're transforming your mindset and body into a more harmonious state. Hypnotherapy is a reminder that true wellness begins from within. Embrace it as a pathway to balance, clarity, and lasting vitality. My name is Dr. Dan Amzallag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.